The story begins with ominous music setting a tense atmosphere. A storm is approaching, and preparations are being made. A confrontation occurs, with the characters narrowly escaping danger. They reach a protection stave, but the threat persists. A fight ensues, and it's revealed that one character had previously killed another's son, creating a complex dynamic of guilt and vengeance. The scene transitions to a discussion about Fimbulwinter, a harsh winter that followed the death of Baldur, hinting at larger mythological events unfolding. The characters return home to find Fenrir's condition worsening. Despite attempts to feed him, Fenrir is unable to eat. The scene is emotional, portraying the strong bond between the characters and the wolf. Fenrir is comforted in his final moments, highlighting themes of loss and the cycle of life and death. The characters are forced to confront the reality of letting go. A nighttime discussion reveals tensions about their current situation. One character, possibly Atreus, expresses frustration at hiding and a desire to discover his identity, particularly in relation to Loki. This is met with resistance from another character, likely Kratos, who wants to avoid conflict with gods. The conversation touches on prophecies about Ragnarok and the impending war, showcasing the weight of destiny on the characters. The scene shifts to a somber moment as characters prepare to bury Fenrir. A philosophical discussion ensues about the nature of predators and the natural order. They encounter another sick wolf, sparking a debate about responsibility and intervention. This interaction reveals differing viewpoints on their role in the world and the extent of their obligations to others. A tense encounter with an angry bear occurs. The scene is chaotic, with characters trying to subdue or escape the threat. This leads to a revelation about Atreus' ability to transform, possibly into a bear, driven by strong emotions. The transformation is unexpected and uncontrolled, highlighting the potential dangers of Atreus' developing powers. In the aftermath of the bear incident, there's a discussion about seeking answers regarding Atreus' abilities and his connection to the giants and Loki. Kratos emphasizes the need for caution and control, while Atreus pushes for more active pursuit of knowledge. This conversation underscores the central conflict between safety and the quest for identity and purpose. The scene transitions to an encounter with Odin, who approaches under the guise of negotiation. He proposes a deal, peace in exchange for Atreus ceasing his search for Tyr. Odin reveals knowledge of their activities and possessions, including a prisoner they're hiding. The interaction is tense, with underlying threats and mistrust evident on both sides. The negotiation with Odin breaks down, leading to a violent confrontation with Thor. The fight is intense, with Thor seeking vengeance for Baldur's death. The battle showcases Thor's immense power and his perception of Kratos as a fellow destroyer. Throughout the fight, Thor taunts Kratos, trying to provoke him into revealing his true nature as the god of war. After the fight, Atreus reveals he's been searching for Tyr and has discovered important information. Despite initial reluctance from Kratos due to broken trust, they agree to explore what Atreus has found. They visit a hidden shrine containing secret giant stories, including tales of Skoll and Hades, celestial events, and prophecies of Ragnarok. The revelations suggest Tyr might still be alive, contradicting Odin's claims. The next scene involves Atreus showing Kratos artifacts and information he's gathered from various giant shrines. They discuss the possibility of Tyr being imprisoned rather than killed, and speculate on potential locations based on cryptic clues about black smoke and bleeding earth. The realm of the dwarves, Svartalfheim, is suggested as a likely location for Tyr's prison, setting the stage for future quests and revelations. The scene opens in a safe realm between realms, protected from Fimbulwinter and Odin's gaze. The characters discuss a plan to rescue Tyr, who is believed to be imprisoned in a mine. They are invited inside, where accommodations and amenities are described. The focus shifts to the need for help in reopening travel between realms. The conversation reveals that assistance is needed to open travel between realms again. However, there's a complication, something the hosts need help with first. Attention turns to a son who has grown unexpectedly tall, leading to a discussion about aging and the need for new gear. The importance of a particular item is emphasized, despite its worn condition. The group explores their surroundings, discussing food storage and the process of unlocking the realms. They learn that Tyr is being held in an unknown mine, necessitating help from Durlin, a cousin with access to information about mines and no loyalty to Odin. The conversation reveals past plans for a rebellion against Odin, which comes as a surprise to some. The scene shifts to a procedure involving Bifrost eyes, using a specially crafted device. Despite some discomfort and reluctance, the process is completed. The group then moves to reconfigure gateways using Yggdrasil seeds, eliminating the need for a travel table or Bifrost lamp. They prepare to depart and explore the new setup. The group arrives in Nidavellir, a city that appears to be on high alert. The inhabitants are scared and hiding, with alarms sounding. There's a sense of nostalgia mixed with caution as they navigate the cobblestone streets. A bow is modified to take advantage of certain materials and structural sensitivities to sonic vibrations. The modified bow is tested on a gate, demonstrating its new capabilities. The group encounters a local who directs them to the safety office where they can find information about Durlin. They are also tasked with cleaning up a mess in the bay. A beautiful and useful compass is gifted, capable of finding desired locations that have been plotted together. At the safety office, they inquire about a prisoner held by Odin in a mine. The official, revealed to be Durlin, is initially uncooperative but becomes more engaged upon learning of his wife's involvement. Despite refusing to help directly, Durlin provides a document with potential clues before dismissing them. The group continues their journey, encountering a dead dragon and collecting algae-covered stones. They discuss their mission to find Tyr and their stance against Odin. Combat ensues, highlighting the ongoing dangers they face. They finally encounter Tyr, who is initially distrustful and fearful. Through careful communication and reassurance, they convince Tyr of their good intentions and offer to take him to safety. Tyr, disoriented and unsure of reality, eventually agrees to accompany them. As they prepare to leave, introductions are made, and Tyr learns more about his rescuers. The conversation touches on Ragnarok and the group's intentions. Tyr expresses gratitude for his freedom, but is hesitant about participating in any war. They discuss the fate of the giants and recent events involving Thor's sons and Baldur. The escape is complicated by the arrival of reinforcements from Asgard, using the sky to travel between realms. The group manages to return to their safe haven, where Tyr is promised food and rest. Plans are made to discuss next steps in the morning. The segment ends with arrangements being made for comfortable accommodations suitable for Tyr's size. The conversation begins with two brothers discussing their current situation. One expresses a desire for things to return to how they were before, while the other acknowledges that certain opportunities have passed. They discuss Atreus, expressing concern for his safety and his determination to make his own mistakes. The brothers also mention Tyr, suggesting he might be one of those mistakes. They discuss a man who has been completely broken, likely referring to Tyr, and debate whether he could be a potential ally. The conversation shifts to a planned visit to Midgard to see an old friend. One character expresses concern about the dangers involved, particularly the risk of murder. They suggest an alternative plan to visit Jormungandr, the world serpent, before potentially meeting with Freya. The characters discuss the death of a wolf named Henry and reminisce about him briefly. They then set out on their journey, mentioning passing by the Helheim Tower and the oarsmen. The characters arrive at their destination and encounter something unexpected. They debate whether to proceed or return home, ultimately deciding to continue forward. The group reaches a frozen door, which they manage to open. They discuss their plan to approach Freya at the old Valkyrie Council Circle, hoping she will be in a good mood. Despite reservations, they decide to proceed with the plan. The confrontation with Freya begins. She is hostile, blaming the characters for the loss of her son. A tense dialogue ensues, with one character attempting to reason with Freya. They reveal information about Odin's visit to Midgard and his claims about averting Ragnarok. The character also discloses their own identity as Loki and their potential role in stopping Odin. They mention Tyr being alive and suggest working together against Odin. Freya ultimately allows them to leave, but warns them not to return. After the encounter with Freya, the characters regroup and discuss the outcome. They reflect on past events, including an accident at a forge and an attempt to retrieve souls from Alfheim. The conversation then turns to their next move and whether they can trust the path they're on. They debate the wisdom of the giants and their peaceful nature. The group prepares for their next destination, Alfheim. The scene shifts to a meal where the characters discuss their plans to visit Alfheim. They mention seeking information at the shrine of Groa, the Knowledge Keeper. The group prepares for the journey, gathering necessary items and discussing logistics. The characters encounter Ratatoskr, the squirrel that runs up and down Yggdrasil, the world tree. Ratatoskr explains his nature and role, revealing that the version they previously knew was a spectral aspect. He provides them with seeds necessary for opening new destinations on the world tree. The group arrives at their destination and discovers changes to the environment. They examine murals depicting Groa's search for her husband and her vision of Ragnarok. The characters interpret the images, discussing the concept of Ironwood and debating the meaning of various prophecies. They discover new information about Ragnarok that contradicts what they previously believed, realizing that Odin may be working with false information. The revelation about Ragnarok leads to a heated discussion. Some characters see it as an opportunity to win against Odin, while others are more cautious. Tyr expresses reluctance to lead them to war, citing the potential for countless deaths and suffering. The group debates their choices and the implications of following prophecy. The scene transitions to a quieter moment where the characters share a meal. They continue to discuss their next move and the role of prophecy in their decisions. There is tension between the desire to fulfill a potential destiny and the wish to avoid unnecessary conflict. The conversation touches on the journey they've been on and its purpose, with differing opinions on how to interpret their experiences and the information they've gathered. The passage begins with a reflection on the importance of sleep in resolving mental troubles. The scene then shifts abruptly, introducing a character who expresses a newfound awareness of their godhood. This realization brings a sense of increased strength and power. The character finds themselves in an unfamiliar location, questioning their surroundings and encountering mysterious entities referred to as little people. The atmosphere is tense and confusing, with repeated utterances of whatever creating a sense of disorientation. A violent scene unfolds, with mentions of revenge and godhood being used as justification for harmful actions. The protagonist appears to be in a state of confusion, constantly questioning their location and experiencing what seems to be a series of disjointed, dreamlike events. The narrative then transitions to a more serene setting, possibly a forest, where the protagonist encounters friendly entities and notices the unique, sweet smell of the air. The protagonist discovers they are in a place called Ironwood, a forest unlike any they've seen before. They encounter an artist creating paintings using paint made from ironwood tree bark, which is said to absorb and remember the memories of the forest, including both past and future events. The protagonist meets someone who recognizes them, leading to an awkward but significant interaction. The person introduces themselves as Angrboda and promises to provide answers to the protagonist's questions. Angrboda leads the protagonist to a location reminiscent of where the protagonists scattered their mother's ashes. They are shown a mural depicting future events, including the protagonists serving Odin and their father's death. This revelation causes distress and disbelief in the protagonist, who struggles to accept this as their destined future. Angrboda attempts to calm them, explaining that such reactions are common when confronted with one's future. She then invites the protagonist on a walk to teach them about their giant heritage and newfound powers. The narrative shifts to a more lighthearted tone as Angrboda introduces the protagonist to a wolf named Yala. They engage in stone-skipping activities and discuss the protagonist's role as a champion. The scene then moves to the Valley of the Fallen, where Angrboda explains the history of giants who chose to hide from Asgard's threat. The protagonist is given a set of marbles containing the souls of hidden giants, a responsibility passed down from Angrboda's father. The protagonist and Angrboda continue their journey, discussing the weight of responsibility and the possibility of fighting Odin together. They reminisce about past events and contemplate the future. Angrboda expresses that her role in the grand scheme of things may be coming to an end. The duo then search for wretch nests to gather supplies, and the protagonist attempts to comfort Angrboda about her paintings. The narrative takes a darker turn as they encounter an injured wolf named Karla. Unable to heal her conventionally, they decide to use one of the soul-containing marbles to save her. This act prompts a discussion about the nature of souls and the responsibility that comes with possessing them. The protagonist, referred to as Atreus, begins to understand the gravity of his newfound abilities and the ethical implications of using them. The scene shifts dramatically as Atreus and Angrboda find themselves in a tense situation, trying to escape undetected. They encounter a hostile figure who seems to have a history with Angrboda. A conflict ensues, centered around a magical cauldron and the nature of souls. The hostile figure, possibly Angrboda's mother, expresses bitterness and resentment towards Angrboda's choices and her connection to Atreus. After the confrontation, Atreus and Angrboda reflect on the complex relationship between Angrboda and her mother. They engage in a playful race, showcasing a lighter moment amidst the serious events. Angrboda then prepares Atreus for his return home, showing him his mother's empty ashes vessel and encouraging him to cherish the time he has left with his father. Atreus grapples with the idea of predetermined fates and expresses a desire to change the future he's been shown. The scene concludes with Atreus returning home, contemplating how to keep his adventures in Ironwood and his interactions with Angrboda a secret. He faces his father, who questions his absence and expresses concern. Atreus struggles with the burden of his newfound knowledge and responsibilities, unable to share them fully with his father. The passage ends with a tense exchange between Atreus and his father, highlighting the growing distance between them due to secrets and differing perspectives on their shared journey. The scene opens with a somber tone, hinting at betrayal and broken friendships. There's a sense of tension and unresolved conflict, setting the stage for the events to unfold. The atmosphere is charged with emotions of loss and potential reconciliation. A confrontation occurs between characters, with one asserting authority over another. There's a demand for truth and a promise to set things right. A prisoner is being transported, suggesting a power dynamic shift. The scene transitions to a new location, possibly Alfheim, indicating a journey or quest is underway. The characters arrive at a gateway to Alfheim, encountering a godlike figure. There's tension between the newcomers and this entity, with references to Thor and other Norse mythological elements. The dialogue suggests a complex history between the characters, with underlying conflicts and allegiances being tested. A heated exchange occurs, revealing past grievances and family conflicts. There are accusations of betrayal and demands for information about a missing sister. The conversation takes an unexpected turn when one character appears to speak with the voice of another, creating confusion and suspense. The true identity of a character is revealed as envy, explaining a deception. There's urgency in the situation, with envy claiming to be reclaiming something taken. The scene is tense, with conflicting loyalties and unclear motivations among the characters. A brief skirmish ensues, highlighting the volatile nature of their relationships. The characters discover something significant related to Odin and the World Tree, providing insight into past events. This revelation seems to be a pivotal moment in their quest or understanding of their situation. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation as they process this new information. A struggle ensues, possibly over control of an object or entity. The characters are physically and emotionally strained, fighting against a powerful force. This conflict appears to be a climactic moment in their journey, with high stakes and intense action. The battle continues with increased intensity. Characters are pushed to their limits, both physically and mentally. The outcome of this struggle seems to have significant implications for their quest and relationships. The conflict reaches its conclusion, leaving the characters to deal with the aftermath. There's a moment of decision regarding forgiveness or retribution, highlighting the complex emotions and moral dilemmas faced by the characters. The tone is reflective and somewhat melancholic. A heartfelt conversation occurs, addressing past grievances and acknowledging lingering anger. There's a sense of growth and understanding between the characters, though complete reconciliation seems challenging. The dialogue reflects on the consequences of past actions and the difficulty of moving forward. The characters reflect on a significant past event, likely a life-saving action. There's discussion about choices and regret, indicating personal growth and a deeper understanding of their shared history. The conversation is emotionally charged but respectful, showing maturity in handling complex relationships. The scene shifts to a more peaceful setting, with characters observing nature and discussing their future plans. There's uncertainty about next steps, particularly regarding a character named Atreus. The conversation hints at potential conflicts or challenges ahead, despite the current calm. A reunion occurs, with one character returning to their homeland. There's initial excitement and suggestions of rebuilding, but it becomes clear that expectations differ. The returning character expresses intention to leave again, causing disappointment and confusion. Tension rises as characters discuss past conflicts and differing perspectives on loyalty and duty. There's a sense of unresolved issues and hurt feelings from past events. The dialogue reveals complex family dynamics and the long-lasting impact of previous decisions. The conversation becomes more emotional, with characters expressing regret over past words and actions. There's a poignant moment of reconciliation and acknowledgement of shared grief. However, despite the emotional reconnection, fundamental differences in their paths remain. The scene concludes with a bittersweet understanding between the characters. While there's a deep emotional connection, their paths diverge. Promises of future help and visits are made, indicating a desire to maintain the relationship despite physical separation. The focus shifts to practical matters, with characters discussing magical items and potential alliances. There's an offer of hospitality and suggestions for future meetings. The tone is lighter, with a mix of business and friendly banter, indicating a return to normalcy after intense emotional exchanges. Preparations for departure are made, with characters saying their goodbyes and making plans for future interactions. There's a sense of moving forward, with new alliances formed and old relationships redefined. The scene sets the stage for future adventures and developments. A tense conversation unfolds, likely between a parent and child. Trust issues and accusations of lying are central to the dispute. The dialogue reveals a complex family dynamic, with the child feeling misunderstood and the parent struggling to maintain authority and trust. The argument escalates, touching on past events and family secrets. There's a clear generational divide in perspectives, with the younger character feeling constrained and the older one concerned about potential dangers. The conversation highlights the challenges of parenting and growing up in a complex, possibly mythical world. The conflict reaches a critical point, with the younger character expressing a desire to go to Asgard, much to the alarm of others. There's a debate about the wisdom and safety of this plan, revealing deeper issues of trust, independence, and the consequences of past actions. The scene is emotionally charged, with family dynamics at the forefront. The younger character, possibly Atreus, contemplates the consequences of his choices, torn between following a prophecy that ends in tragedy and taking action to prevent it. He considers going to Asgard to spy on Odin, revealing a complex web of prophecy, family loyalty, and personal agency. The scene shifts to a neglected house, possibly belonging to Freya. Atreus finds and comforts a cold animal, likely Charlie, highlighting his compassionate nature. The state of the house and the animal's condition provide insight into Freya's absence and changed priorities. Atreus explores Freya's house, finding remnants of her past, including Valkyrie armor. He reflects on his father's ability to earn Freya's forgiveness and wonders about her absent friend. The scene provides a moment of quiet exploration and reflection amidst the larger conflicts. Atreus grapples with his decision to leave, torn between staying safe and trying to prevent his father's prophesied death. He comforts the animal one last time, preparing to embark on a risky journey. The scene captures his internal struggle and determination. Atreus departs, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. The scene is tinged with a sense of finality and trepidation as he steps into the unknown, driven by his desire to change fate and protect his father. Atreus arrives in a new location, possibly Asgard. He encounters friendly locals who are also from Midgard, settled there by Odin. The conversation reveals the divide between the settlement and the main city, protected by a massive wall. Atreus' outsider status and connection to Odin become points of interest. The locals question Atreus about his relationship with Odin and his magical abilities. Atreus is evasive, maintaining an air of mystery. He decides to attempt climbing the wall to enter the city, despite warnings about the danger. The scene highlights Atreus' determination and the locals' mix of awe and concern. Atreus begins his perilous climb up the wall, refusing help from the concerned onlookers. His determination and bravery are evident, though there's an underlying sense of recklessness. The scene builds tension as Atreus nears the top of the imposing structure. Atreus reaches the top of the wall and encounters a skeptical guard. He claims to have been sent for by Odin, but his explanation is met with disbelief and mockery. The guard threatens to drop Atreus, creating a tense and precarious situation. The guard, revealed to be Heimdall, reluctantly allows Atreus entry into Asgard. Heimdall is immediately suspicious and antagonistic towards Atreus, referring to him as Loki of the Jotnar. The scene sets up a potentially hostile reception for Atreus in Asgard. Heimdall escorts Atreus through Asgard, allowing him to witness its splendor. Their conversation is tense, with Heimdall questioning Atreus' motives and making assumptions about his character. Atreus attempts to defend himself, but Heimdall remains deeply skeptical. Heimdall delivers a scathing assessment of Atreus' character, accusing him of being manipulative, disrespectful, and chaotic. Atreus tries to assert his good intentions, but Heimdall remains unconvinced. Despite his misgivings, Heimdall acknowledges that if Atreus is truly there to aid Odin, they might be allies. The conversation shifts to a discussion of Aesir culture and history. Heimdall criticizes Atreus' lack of knowledge about Asgard and its people. They discuss the wall surrounding Asgard, with Atreus demonstrating some knowledge of its giant builder, surprising Heimdall. Heimdall continues to challenge Atreus' understanding of Asgard, correcting his assumptions about Odin's dwelling. He emphasizes that true power doesn't need to be flaunted, suggesting a deeper philosophy behind Asgardian leadership. The conversation highlights the cultural and ideological gaps between Atreus and the Aesir. Heimdall seems to present Atreus to someone, possibly Odin, expressing his lack of impression with Atreus. There's a suggestion of physical confrontation, with Heimdall telling Atreus to stay down. The abrupt ending leaves the outcome and Atreus' fate in Asgard uncertain. Loki arrives as a guest of the Allfather, greeted by Heimdall, who can read minds. Heimdall accuses Loki of intending to betray the Allfather, but Loki dismisses this as a joke. The Allfather acknowledges Loki's curiosity and desire for answers, suggesting he has plans for the young visitor. The Allfather reveals his awareness of Loki's intentions, but seems unconcerned, focusing instead on Loki's curiosity and open-mindedness. He mentions past conflicts with his ex-wife and a former employee, implying complex relationships. The scene shifts to a training area, where the Allfather instructs someone to keep combat practice non-lethal. The conversation turns to Loki's father's reaction to his visit. The Allfather mentions Loki's earlier actions with Tyr, but dismisses it. He then introduces Loki to the process of blessing Valkyries, explaining how he helps them regain their sense of identity after emerging from Valhalla. This demonstrates the Allfather's role in shaping and guiding the afterlife of warriors. The Allfather presents Loki with books from his personal collection, emphasizing Loki's role as a visitor and learner rather than a servant. He mentions a project he believes Loki will find interesting, assuring him that no harm will come to his family or friends. The Allfather stresses the importance of truth and encourages Loki to explore freely, contrasting his approach with that of Loki's father. A diplomatic situation arises involving dwarves and refugees from New Midgard. The Allfather addresses concerns about machine designs, reassuring the dwarves of his confidence in their abilities. He then invites Loki to meet him in his study when ready to discuss the project further, offering him a change of clothes and the use of a room that once belonged to Modi, the Allfather's son. The scene shifts to a conversation about a unique sword given for Valkyrie training. The Allfather's study is mentioned, indicating the layout of the residence. A brief interaction with Hugin, possibly a raven, showcases the Allfather's impatience with constant communication. He then gifts an item called Ingrid to Loki, presenting it as a perk of the job and demonstrating unexpected generosity. The Allfather reveals his true motivations, expressing a desire for answers about existence and purpose. He describes finding an object that he believes holds the key to understanding their place in the universe, potentially offering ways to change fate and save loved ones. This object is presented as a source of knowledge and truth, capable of providing insights beyond the usual limits of divine understanding. The Allfather tasks Loki with investigating clues related to the mysterious object. He provides Loki with items and instructions, encouraging him to pursue the leads independently. The scene then shifts to an interaction between Loki and another character, possibly Thor or another of the Allfather's associates, as they embark on a mission related to the clues. Loki encounters Angrboda at a shrine, where they discuss giants, marbles, and prophecies. Angrboda expresses curiosity about the lands the giants have gone to, far from Odin and Thor. They examine depictions of past events, including a battle between Surtur and Sinama, which ended in an unexpected alliance. The conversation touches on themes of destiny, friendship, and the potential consequences of their actions. The narrative returns to Loki's mission with his companion. They search for an object in a dangerous, lava-filled area. Despite initial failure, they discover that their actions have caused a change in the mysterious rift mentioned earlier. The Allfather praises their teamwork, drawing parallels to his past relationship with Baldur. He then entrusts Loki with further tasks related to deciphering the object's mysteries, contingent on Loki's decision to stay and help. The scene opens with a tense interaction between characters, possibly Thor and another individual. There's a sense of distrust and confrontation, with one character claiming to be the only one who understands Thor's language. The day is described as weird, setting an unusual tone for the events to follow. The scene transitions, possibly to a new location or time. The atmosphere seems to shift, indicated by background music and foreign language elements. A conversation between brothers unfolds. One proposes a plan involving the Norns, mysterious entities they've encountered before. The discussion revolves around finding Atreus, who is believed to be in Asgard. There's debate about raising an army and the potential for war. The characters reflect on their past actions and current predicament, with tensions evident between them. The dialogue continues, touching on themes of blame, war, and differing approaches to problem solving. Freya's character is discussed, with observations about changes in her nature. The group decides to seek out the Norns for guidance, hoping to find answers about Atreus' situation. The characters prepare to leave in search of the Norns. There's a brief interaction where an item is returned, possibly a weapon or tool of significance. The group collects necessary items for their journey, setting out with a mix of hope and apprehension about what they might discover. The scene shifts to a confrontation, possibly with Baldur. There's a sense of urgency and conflict, with characters calling out to each other and attempting to engage or avoid combat. The emotional tension is high, with references to past betrayals and misunderstandings. The group encounters a mystical creature, identified as a Kelpie. This water horse is described as rare and temperamental. The characters interact with the Kelpie, attempting to gain its cooperation for their journey. There's a brief discussion about similar creatures from Greek mythology, highlighting the diverse backgrounds of the group members. The Kelpie proves capable of walking on water, amazing the characters. They continue their journey, likely across a body of water, while discussing the nature of Kelpies and their reputation in folklore. The group remains focused on their mission to find answers about Atreus. The group finally reaches their destination, the home of the Norns. They enter cautiously, aware of the significance of this moment. Kratos, Freya, and Mimir's head are specifically mentioned as present for this encounter. Inside the Norns' dwelling, Kratos immediately inquires about his son. The Norns respond cryptically, speaking of destiny and the predictability of choices. They challenge the characters' understanding of fate and free will, suggesting that their actions are predetermined, yet also the result of their own decisions. The conversation with the Norns continues, touching on Kratos' past and the death of his previous son. The Norns speak of Kratos' nature and his tendency to slay gods. They reveal a prophecy about Heimdall intending to kill Atreus in Asgard, setting the stage for potential conflict and the impending Ragnarok. The group leaves the Norns' dwelling, processing the information they've received. They discover an object of significance, Odin's noose, used in his quest for knowledge of life and death. The characters contemplate their next moves, with Kratos determined to prevent the prophesied fate of his son. The group discusses their plan to protect Atreus by potentially killing Heimdall. They begin strategizing how to overcome Heimdall's formidable abilities, including his foresight and keen senses. The conversation turns to acquiring a weapon called Draupnir to aid in their mission. The plan to acquire Draupnir is further discussed. It becomes clear that obtaining and modifying this weapon will be crucial to their strategy against Heimdall. The group prepares to embark on a journey to gather the necessary materials and seek assistance from a mysterious lady. The characters debate who should speak with the lady to obtain help with Draupnir. There's tension and disagreement about this task, highlighting the complex dynamics within the group. They prepare to travel to multiple locations, including Svartalfheim, to gather what they need for their plan. The scene shifts, possibly to a new location. There's a discussion about fate and violence, with characters expressing concern about Atreus and the potential consequences of their actions. The gravity of their plan to kill Heimdall is apparent, along with the challenges they face in achieving this goal. The group successfully acquires an important item, likely related to their plan against Heimdall. They continue to debate the morality and necessity of their actions, with some expressing doubts and others reinforcing the threat Heimdall poses not just to Atreus, but to everyone. Preparations continue for the creation or modification of Draupnir. The group plans to visit the lady for assistance, with some tension about who will speak with her. They set out on this next phase of their journey, aware of the challenges and risks ahead. The scene opens with a discussion about focus and emotional control. A character is practicing controlling their emotions, as taught by their father. Another character expresses concern about potential consequences of training without permission. The conversation hints at underlying tensions and responsibilities. The characters are summoned to meet with a grandfather figure. There's a brief exchange about sending regards to Lady Sif and Trace. The scene shifts to a new location, possibly the grandfather's study. The atmosphere suggests a mix of familiarity and formality, indicating complex family dynamics. The grandfather figure reveals a significant past event involving the death of Mimir, described as a giant. He explains it as a necessary action to protect his own, likening it to a force of nature. The conversation then shifts to a mysterious rift, possibly the birthplace of reality, which the grandfather encountered. This experience left a profound impact on him, including physical blindness. The grandfather continues his revelation, describing a mystical encounter that whispered incomprehensible but true things to him. He expresses uncertainty about his afterlife fate, rejecting the concept of Valhalla. His quest for answers about what happens after death drives his actions. He swears on his remaining good eye that this is the truth, adding gravity to his confession. The conversation turns to a mission involving a cold breath or wind, possibly related to Helheim. The grandfather assigns this task to the younger characters, including Heimdall. He provides them with special clothing to protect against the cold, emphasizing the dangerous nature of their mission. The scene sets up an important quest with potential risks and revelations. The characters embark on their mission to Helheim. They encounter a chained creature, possibly a hellhound, which they must free. The process involves carefully unlocking multiple restraints. This task seems to be a crucial part of their assigned mission, though it carries an air of uncertainty and potential danger. The team successfully frees the chained creature. However, complications arise as they realize something important is missing. This unexpected turn of events causes panic, especially regarding potential consequences from the grandfather. The situation quickly escalates from a successful mission to a potentially disastrous mistake. Tension rises as the characters realize the full impact of their actions. They frantically search for a missing item, possibly the reason for their mission. The scene conveys a sense of mounting dread and the realization that they may have made a grave error. Their concern about the grandfather's reaction intensifies, highlighting the weight of their responsibility. confrontation erupts between the characters. Accusations fly about who is responsible for the mistake. The dialogue reveals underlying tensions and power dynamics, with references to family relationships and perceived favoritism. The situation becomes increasingly heated, exposing deeper conflicts within the group. The confrontation escalates into a physical altercation. Insults are exchanged, touching on sensitive topics like family relationships and perceived weaknesses. The scene highlights the complex dynamics and unresolved issues among the characters, particularly regarding their familial connections and societal positions. The fight is interrupted, and the characters begin to realize the consequences of their actions. They prepare to face the All-Father, anticipating a severe reaction. The scene shifts to a search for the All-Father, building tension as they brace for the inevitable confrontation and explanation of their failed mission. The characters face harsh criticism for their failures. There's an attempt by one to take full responsibility and protect another. The dialogue reveals complex relationships and power dynamics within the group. The scene ends with a suggestion of a private conversation to follow, hinting at further consequences or revelations to come. The aftermath of the failed mission unfolds. There's tension between characters, particularly regarding trust and responsibility. A father-daughter relationship is highlighted, with discussions about training and safety. The scene explores themes of protection, independence, and the challenges of parenting in a dangerous world. A conversation ensues about the consequences of the characters' actions, particularly the release of a creature named Garm. The impact of this mistake is described as causing chaos in other realms. There's a discussion about trust and choices, with one character deciding to return home. The scene ends with a request to return a mask, hinting at its significance. The setting changes dramatically as the character returns home. They encounter unexpected danger, possibly related to their earlier actions. The scene is filled with tension and urgency as they face immediate threats. A battle ensues, with characters fighting against unknown assailants. There's a sense of chaos and danger, possibly linked to the consequences of freeing Garm. The scene is intense and action-packed, highlighting the direct results of the characters' earlier mistakes. The battle continues, with characters struggling against overwhelming odds. The consequences of their actions in Helheim become increasingly apparent as they face the rampaging forces they inadvertently unleashed. The characters grapple with the enormity of their mistake. The release of Garm is described as having far-reaching consequences, with Hellwalkers being just the beginning. There's a mix of regret, anger, and determination to fix the situation. Rằng, văn hóa truyền thống Trung Quốc đặc biệt đề cao sinh mạng của con người, nhưng với bản chất, giả, ác đấu, Dosiesteku không coi mạng người ra gì. Ông Vương Hữu Quần nói rằng, Dosiesteku đã giết người kể từ khi thành lập, và nó đã giết gần 100 triệu người Trung Quốc cho đến ngày nay. The characters regroup and begin planning how to rectify their mistake. There's a sense of urgency and responsibility as they prepare to confront the consequences of freeing Garm. The dialogue touches on themes of redemption, teamwork, and facing the results of one's actions. The group formulates a plan to recapture Garm. They discuss strategies and potential risks, showing a more cautious approach after their previous mistake. The scene demonstrates their determination to correct their error and prevent further damage. The characters engage in a confrontation with Garm. There's discussion about control and transformation, hinting at hidden abilities or powers. The scene is tense, balancing action with strategic planning as they attempt to subdue the powerful creature they released. The battle with Garm intensifies. The characters employ various tactics and abilities in their attempt to recapture the creature. The scene is dynamic, showcasing the challenges and dangers of their mission to undo their previous mistake. The confrontation with Garm reaches a critical point. The characters face significant challenges and setbacks in their attempt to subdue the creature. The scene is filled with tension and uncertainty about the outcome of their desperate efforts. A pivotal moment occurs in the battle against Garm. The characters make a crucial move, possibly succeeding in their goal. The scene is intense and emotional, marking a turning point in their quest to rectify their earlier mistake. In the aftermath of the battle, the characters discuss past events and prophecies. They touch on themes of fate, survival, and the desire to change predetermined outcomes. The conversation reveals deep emotional bonds and a determination to forge their own destiny despite ominous visions. The characters experience a moment of reunion and relief. They reflect on the success of their mission and the power of trust and cooperation. The scene is emotionally charged, highlighting the strength of their relationships and the growth they've experienced through their challenges. The group begins to process the events that have transpired. They discuss the use of magic and the importance of trust. There's a sense of accomplishment mixed with the realization of ongoing challenges and responsibilities. A heartfelt conversation unfolds, focusing on personal growth and the lessons learned from recent experiences. The dialogue touches on themes of independence, trust, and the evolving nature of relationships, particularly between a parent and child. There's a sense of mutual respect and understanding developing between the characters. The characters make a pact to support and guide each other, even when physically apart. They discuss the concept of destiny and the power to shape their own future. The scene emphasizes themes of personal growth, mutual support, and the determination to overcome predetermined fates. The group returns home, facing questions about their mission. They begin to share information about Odin's plans and a mysterious mask of great significance. The scene sets up new plot developments and potential future conflicts. A discussion ensues about the true nature and origin of the mask Odin seeks. Its potential power and connection to infinite knowledge are revealed, shedding light on Odin's motivations. The characters debate the implications of this revelation and how it might affect their future actions. The group grapples with the significance of the mask and Odin's obsession with it. They debate whether to focus on this new information or stick to their original plans. The scene highlights the complexity of their situation and the difficult decisions they face in their ongoing conflict. The characters make decisions about their next moves in light of the new information. Some choose to return to other realms to continue the fight against Odin, while others prepare for future confrontations. The scene ends with a sense of determination and the acknowledgement of the challenges that lie ahead. An unexpected reunion occurs between Atreus and an unidentified individual. The encounter is tense, with references to past conflicts and mistakes. Atreus expresses remorse for his actions, revealing he was formerly an advisor to the Fenrir, but is now exiled. The conversation hints at a complex history between the characters, including a mistaken shooting incident. The characters discuss the need to help Heimdall and prepare for departure. They mention Freya's arrival to assist her brother. The scene shifts to the appearance of celestial wolves, described as legendary creatures. There's a reference to these wolves rejoining the sky after the moon's return, suggesting a mythical event. The characters decide to find and restore the moon to its proper place, treating this extraordinary task as a routine matter. The characters interact with the celestial wolves, possibly at their shrine. A significant decision is made, emphasizing the importance of doing what is necessary rather than following predetermined paths. The The wolves bestow a gift upon the characters, a means to summon them when needed. This gift is seen as something to be utilized in future endeavors. The scene continues with the interaction between the characters and the celestial wolves. The gift from the wolves is further explored, with the implication that it will be a valuable asset in their upcoming challenges. The characters express their readiness to face their next obstacle, possibly a confrontation with an entity referred to as envy. A new character, possibly named Dal, enters the scene. There's a tense exchange, with accusations of treachery and references to Odin. The dialogue suggests complex relationships and conflicts among the characters. Someone, likely Freya, is mentioned as needing help elsewhere. The conversation alludes to impending confrontations and unresolved issues between the characters. The confrontation intensifies, with threats exchanged between the characters. There are references to past events and future intentions, including plans for revenge. The dialogue suggests a power struggle and deep-seated conflicts among the characters. The scene is building towards a climactic moment, with tensions rising and the possibility of violence imminent. A physical confrontation begins, with one character striking another. The fight escalates quickly, with both parties engaged in combat. There's a sense of inevitability to the conflict, as if it's been a long time coming. The dialogue during the fight reveals underlying emotions and motivations driving the characters' actions. The fight continues, becoming more intense. One character offers the other a final warning, which is rejected. The refusal to back down leads to further escalation of the conflict. The dialogue suggests that this fight is about more than just physical dominance. It's about determining fates and settling long-standing issues between the characters. The confrontation reaches a critical point. One character seems to gain the upper hand, but there's a moment of hesitation or reconsideration. The dialogue suggests an internal struggle, possibly about the morality of their actions or the consequences of following through with their intentions. This moment of doubt adds complexity to the characters' motivations and the overall conflict. The scene shifts to what appears to be a rescue mission. Characters are moving urgently, possibly fleeing from danger. There's a sense of relief at a successful rescue, but also awareness that they're not yet safe. The dialogue indicates that the characters are questioning their actions and their relationship with fate, suggesting a deeper philosophical undertone to their adventure. The characters continue their escape, with indications that they're being pursued. They're heading towards a river, suggesting a planned escape route. There's a mix of urgency and coordination in their actions, with characters working together to overcome obstacles. The mention of Freya's boat implies they have a specific means of escape in mind. The escape continues, with the characters using a boat to flee. There's a moment of respite, but also an awareness that their pursuers will regroup soon. The characters express gratitude, possibly for help received during their escape. The scene conveys a sense of temporary relief, mixed with the knowledge that they're not yet entirely safe. The escape takes an unexpected turn as the characters find themselves flying. This surprising development adds a new dimension to their journey. However, their relief is short-lived as they encounter new threats, possibly aerial enemies. The scene combines wonder at their new mode of travel with the tension of ongoing danger. The scene opens with a tense dialogue, hinting at threats and potential violence. There's mention of killing a son, turning family members against each other, and a sense of confusion about the situation. The speaker then transitions to a more hopeful tone, suggesting they've thought of something to teach, possibly as a way to resolve the conflict. The dialogue ends with relief at someone's safe escape, implying a narrow avoidance of danger. The dialogue focuses on the aftermath of a mission to retrieve a mysterious mask. The protagonist didn't get to use it as planned due to complications involving Heimdall's discovery. While Odin can't use the mask either, the lack of answers from it is disappointing. The theft of Odin's greatest treasure, combined with Heimdall's death, has put everyone at risk. The characters debate their next move, with suggestions ranging from finding Surtur and bringing Odin to justice, to using the mask themselves to gain knowledge and prevent a prophesied war. The characters continue to discuss their plans. One suggests sneaking into Asgard to use the mask, despite not having a clear way in. There's debate about the risks and potential benefits of using the mask, with some seeing it as leverage against Odin and others worried about the price of such shortcuts. The conversation concludes with a decision to proceed with the plan, viewing it as a chance to make their own path and potentially avoid bloodshed. A character, possibly Mimir, steps forward to offer a way into Asgard. He reflects on his past burdens and sees this as his purpose. The plan involves using an ancient path to enter Asgard, with the dual objectives of using the mask and confronting Odin. The group agrees to act quickly before Odin can anticipate their moves. There's a brief moment of skepticism about the sudden revelation of this path into Asgard, but the group decides to proceed with the plan. The scene suddenly turns chaotic as a confrontation erupts. Someone, possibly Odin, demands the mask in exchange for a hostage. There's a tense standoff, with threats of violence and attempts at negotiation. The situation escalates rapidly, leading to a fight. Amidst the chaos, there are pleas for salvation and expressions of regret. The confrontation ends with a sense of loss and uncertainty about the future. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the characters discuss their next steps. There's a call to kill Odin and anyone who stands in their way. However, one character, possibly Kratos, seems to be withdrawing from the conflict. There's a plea for him to stay and help, emphasizing that Odin won't stop until they stop him. The scene shifts to a hunting scenario, possibly a metaphor or a literal change of setting, with observations about broken branches and discussions about accuracy versus speed. The narrative jumps to a scene of confrontation and regret. One character, likely Sindri, expresses deep anger and betrayal towards another, possibly Atreus. He recounts all he's given, skills, friendship, home, secrets, treasures, only to be left with nothing, not even family. The betrayed character rejects apologies and demands that the others leave. The scene ends with a sense of irreparable damage to once close relationships. The focus shifts to planning for a final confrontation with Odin. The characters discuss uniting the realms against Asgard, acknowledging the challenges they face. They plan to gather armies from various realms to match Odin's forces. The strategy involves entering Asgard through Tyr's temple and breaching its walls. Tasks are distributed among the group, recruiting the army of the dead from Helheim, uniting the elves in Alfheim, and finding the last fire giant. The scene ends with the characters embarking on their respective missions. The narrative moves to an encounter with a fire giant, presumably Surtur. Initially reluctant to help, Surtur eventually agrees to assist after a discussion about love and sacrifice. The plan involves using the Blades of Chaos, which contain Kratos' primordial fire, in combination with Surtur's heart and the spark of the world. This process is intended to create a being capable of bringing about Ragnarok. The scene is filled with tension and uncertainty about the outcome of this ritual. The ritual to create Ragnarok begins. Surtur is stabbed with the Blades of Chaos, combining his fire with the cold heart of Sinmara. The process is described as intensely painful and transformative. As the ritual concludes, a new being emerges, embodying Ragnarok itself. The characters prepare to return to Midgard, ready to summon this new force when the time comes to attack Asgard. The next scene depicts the gathering of forces for the assault on Asgard. Various groups have joined the cause, including reborn Valkyries now serving as shield maidens, united elves, and the army of Hel. The characters discuss their strategy for breaching Asgard's defenses and using the Ragnarok beast. There's a sense of anticipation and readiness for the impending battle, with next preparations being made and roles assigned to different factions. A leader is needed for an invasion plan against an enemy. The speaker, who previously held the enemy's invading army to a stalemate, is asked to be the general. They emphasize the need for an experienced wartime leader, disregarding honors, prophecies, or champion status. The focus is solely on achieving victory. The characters arrive at their camp, with tents assigned to Kratos and Atreus. The speaker suggests that Atreus, as a young warrior, needs his own space. They ask Kratos to consider the leadership role overnight. The night is described as their last, and they are encouraged to feel emotions other than hate. A moment is requested with Mimir. A request is made for one last silly story from Mimir. There's a playful exchange about Mimir only telling silly stories. The scene is filled with music, suggesting an emotional or significant moment. A story begins about an old man who chopped and delivered wood for his village. As he grew weaker over time, he could no longer bear the weight of the logs. One day, he threw down the logs and called for death to come to him. The story continues, mentioning death's arrival. The scene is interspersed with music, creating a poignant atmosphere. A woman is fondly remembered for her unique qualities, including her desire to protect people and her foresight. Her presence is described as constant, watching over and guiding the characters. The conversation shifts to preparing for mortality, acknowledging it as a natural part of life. The dialogue continues about mortality and burial customs. One character expresses a desire to be close to their loved one, while the other humorously objects to being trapped underground. The conversation touches on past attempts to control one's ending and preparing for a future without them. The discussion deepens into the nature of love and loss. It's acknowledged that grief is the culmination of love, yet they choose to love despite the inevitable pain. The importance of opening one's heart to the world is emphasized, as it provides reasons to keep living even after loss. A request is made for ashes to be spread from the highest peak in all the realms after death. The conversation reaffirms the enduring connection between loved ones, even after death. The scene is emotional, underscored by music. A character agrees to serve as a general, expressing honor in fighting alongside others. Various individuals address the new general, showing respect and readiness for the upcoming conflict. The newly appointed general reflects on their past, acknowledging they can no longer hide from it. They express reluctance towards war, stating that prophecy didn't lead them to this point and won't win the battle. The cost of vengeance is discussed, emphasizing that wars are won by those willing to sacrifice everything. The general rallies the troops, declaring that regardless of the cost, the conflict ends today. The scene is charged with determination and the weight of the impending battle. Preparations for battle begin. The enemy's tactics are discussed, including attempts to shut out Ragnarok. The characters acknowledge the challenging start, but are determined to press on. The battle commences with falling towers and war machines. The characters split up to tackle different objectives. The scene is chaotic, with constant reinforcements from the enemy side. The battle intensifies, with the characters struggling against seemingly endless reinforcements. There's mention of a link to Valhalla that needs to be severed. The arrival of giants brings hope to the struggling forces. The scene opens with characters discussing weapons and delivering wood to Bronner's tent. Loki, who may have suffered a head injury, is greeted warmly. The conversation highlights the community's efforts to provide bedrolls and food for everyone, with wolves assisting in hunting. Gratitude is expressed towards Loki and his friends for their role in helping the group reach their current situation. The dialogue continues, emphasizing the ongoing need for supplies like blankets to combat the cold. Characters reflect on Loki's crucial role in their survival and the sacrifices made. The conversation shifts to reminiscing about past experiences, describing initial expectations of a legendary figure, contrasted with the reality of meeting a kind, charming individual who won them over. The scene transitions to a heartfelt conversation about family, both lost and chosen. A character expresses pride in Loki's growth as a warrior and as a person, emphasizing his good heart despite past hardships. The dialogue suggests Loki is searching for his father, indicating ongoing familial connections and responsibilities within the group. Atreus engages in an emotional exchange with Mimir, expressing deep gratitude and familial love. The conversation hints at Mimir's role as a mentor and father figure to Atreus. The scene then shifts, introducing new characters and hinting at unresolved issues or revelations that Atreus has yet to share with his father. The narrative focuses on Atreus' internal conflict regarding his visions and a decision he feels compelled to make. This leads to a private moment where something significant is shown or revealed, potentially related to Atreus' heritage or destiny. The scene underscores the weight of the choices facing the young character. A poignant moment occurs as characters discuss the aftermath of recent events, symbolized by smoke and fallen debris across realms. The dialogue then turns to a personal discovery involving a destroyed shrine, hinting at hidden truths and protective measures taken by a mother figure. This revelation appears to have significant implications for Atreus' understanding of his identity and fate. Atreus engages in a crucial conversation with his father, expressing his need to embark on a solitary journey to find other giants. This moment highlights Atreus' growing sense of responsibility and independence, while also touching on the difficulty of separation. The father figure responds with understanding, reinforcing lessons of trust and choice. The scene depicts an emotional farewell as Atreus prepares to leave on his quest. The visuals and music suggest a significant turning point in the story, with themes of growth, responsibility, and the bittersweet nature of necessary partings coming to the forefront. The narrative shifts to discussions of rebuilding and future plans, indicating a transitional period following major events. Characters contemplate their next steps and the challenges ahead, including potential threats from former allies turned adversaries. The dialogue touches on loyalty, past choices, and the complexities of relationships forged in conflict. Practical matters of survival and community organization are addressed, with characters discussing accommodation for families and the gathering of supplies. The scene then transitions to a more ominous tone, with discussions of finding a traitor and preparing for potential conflicts, highlighting the ongoing tensions and dangers facing the group. The narrative moves to preparations for a funeral. This somber event brings together various characters, prompting reflections on loss and its impact on individuals. The scene emphasizes the importance of coming together in times of grief and the different ways characters process and express their emotions. The funeral scene continues, marked by powerful visuals and emotive music. This sequence appears to be a pivotal moment, providing closure for some storylines while potentially setting the stage for future developments. The atmosphere is one of reverence and reflection, underlining the significant impact of recent events on the characters and their world.